So we have Pedro Costa here of Costa Design. He is known for creating some crazy watch sculptures. So my question is, and Pedro, you're going to go last. What watch do you want to see Pedro make into a watch sculpture? And I'll go first. I haven't seen him do this before, and I really love the Reverso, and I've reviewed the JLC Reverso Tribute Chronograph. I want him to make that into a watch with a working movement. So you can flip it over. On one side, you have like the sunburst, very traditional dial. On the other side, you have the chronograph movement. I just think it would look really cool. And it's like a good shape for a coffee table. So
1,000,000%.
That's what I would go for.
Just looking at Pedro's reaction, I can already see him thinking about how he would do it. And he's like, I can do that.
I just can't afford it. So okay, don't make one for me. Yeah.
Someone will.
So the watch I want to see Pedro make is, I'm not sure if you have done, but I want to see you do the Grand Seiko Kodo Tourbillon, the constant force. The all skeletonized movement, something that's already hard for the brand to make, and then to see it into a sculpture. I think that would be so cool.
That would be sick.
I have a lot of confidence in you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How about you?
Going along those same lines, I guess I would love to see, we keep doing skeletons, but the Cartier Santos skeleton would look sick too. It would just fit. It just reminds me of the Royal Oak one, which I first saw.
It has a good bracelet, right? Like I think that's overlooked in a lot of your sculptures is the bracelets actually look like really cool.
A lot of work.
Exactly.
You're getting some stress thinking about doing that one. That's funny that's the most stressful one that you can see on your face. Okay. Yes. So Pedro, what is your dream watch to come to do? Any watch?
I actually have been dreaming about this for a few years.
Okay.
And it's the Jacob & Co. Godfather. That is an absolute, beautiful piece of art. Because at the end of the day, it would have to have the piano working, the tourbillon working, and the movement working.
Wow. The
balance wheel, and also it turns,
That would be crazy.
It's absolutely, I believe it's the most amazing piece that we could make.
Should we be on the lookout maybe?
1,000,000%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wrist Enthusiast Radio. I'm Craig. I'm here with Derek.
Hey everyone, what's going on?
Ben is fighting traffic, so he's going to magically appear kind of in a little while. So you'll see him soon, hopefully. And we're here today with a guest, Pedro Costa of Costa Design. So if you don't know him, you've probably seen his work around. He does these really crazy and cool watch sculptures. So a lot of them are these kind of like coffee tables, and you've been getting into some more of other stuff too, right? How are you, Pedro?
I'm all right, brother. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I am extremely honored to be here.
Well, we're great. We're glad to have you. You said that you haven't done many interviews, especially in the US. So
this is my first podcast in the US.
Wow.
Wrist Enthusiast Radio exclusive.
Now he's going to start doing all these podcasts afterwards.
And actually, this is the first time when I've been on the podcast that we've had a guest, because I joined a few months ago. And it was just me, Ben, and Craig for a long time. And now we're so happy to have replaced Ben. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Pedro's on this full time. You have to move to New York now. Pedro lives in Colombia, and that's where your workshop is, right?
In between Italy and Bogota.
Oh, okay. You don't do any of the you don't do any of the production in Italy.
No. What we have is in Switzerland a smaller studio that takes care of all the movements and everything related to mechanisms and etc.
So
in Bogota, we have the studio and we create the sculptures. We do the welding, the etc. Polishing, etc.
So I guess where we should start is kind of getting into your background and how you got into watch sculptures, which seems to me to be quite kind of unusual niche, right? We've talked a little bit before. You didn't start off doing watches?
No, I didn't. Actually, I had a studio, a design studio with my wife. We designed the most exclusive private aviation company, like the VIP area. And at one time, Rick Delacroix arrived in Bogota in his private plane.
From Hublot.
From Hublot,
Wow.
yes. And he actually loved everything that he saw that day. And he said, "Hey, what can you do for me?" And I said, "Come on, you Rick Delacroix. What do you think I'm gonna make for you? I'm gonna come up with something that you're gonna love, and it's gonna have to do related with watches." And when I started designing, making, fabricating the sculpture, he wasn't quite sure. And then at the end, we've done like 25 pieces.
And this was
And since then, I haven't
this was a big bang that you did for him?
Yes, exactly. I remember that we went to Miami, and we had this amazing event with Nicky Jam. You know him?
Mm-hmm.
He's
I do.
like the rapper or reggaeton.
Yeah.
I don't know how you call it.
Reggaeton, I think.
Yeah, reggaeton, exactly. He had the second big band, and then since then, James Rodriguez, the football player, etc.
Wow.
How long ago was that?
This is 11
11 years ago.
years ago.
And so from that first project, you say you made 25 of this Hublot sculpture structure.
Yes.
We'll put it up on the screen when you send us photos and everything later.
Exactly.
How do you think your skills have evolved since when you started 11 years ago to now?
Like 500%.
Holy crap.
Because of course, when you start with something that doesn't exist, you don't have like a
roadmap.
reference point. You know what I mean? You have to do everything from zero. And then since then, we've been learning a lot about materials, about how to do everything in the best possible manner,
And do you have to have that watch like in your possession in order to do it? No.
Yeah,
Really?
I have so many questions about that. I was literally thinking about this last night. I was in the shower. I was like, if I were to make a sculpture out of a watch, how would I start? I was like trying to go backwards and think that way. And I was like, I wonder if Pedro works directly with the manufacturer, ask them for blueprints. Because I've seen some movements you've done like open work. And I'm like, that's hard to do just by the photo.
Yeah.
You need to have some
Sometimes we've done it like that. But the good thing about what we do is that we don't want to make a replica of. We create our own version of the piece, you see? Because at the end of the day, our project is about making artistic representations. It's not to give you the same watch 60 times bigger. No, it's an artistic representation, because it's 60 times bigger actually. And it weighs 120 kilograms because it's stainless steel most of the time.
So you did these Hublots, and you were still doing this aviation stuff.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to kind of, because you basically only do watches now, right?
Today, yes.
Today. Wow. So how long did it take to go from doing this kind of one-off project for Hublot to now this is what we're going to focus on completely?
Because people started, it's not easy, of course. You start a new concept, and basically it's something that people, if you think about it, art is something that people don't need. They just want it. It's something that you want. You don't need a piece of art. You don't need a picture. You don't need, but it's something that if you connect with something, then it makes you happy and you want it, see? To start a project completely from zero and then get people to want and to understand what you're doing is not easy, okay? But finally, when we've done it, it's something that you have to organize, because at the beginning, it was me alone welding, polishing, not alone, but 1, 2, 3 people maximum. Now we are a team of more than 25 artisans.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because there is a demand now.
Yeah.
You see?
So I actually want to go back a little bit, and I want to know, so you told us a story of how you started designing, the watch sculpture starting with Hublot, but how did you yourself get into watches? Like, what was that passion?
I always loved watches. The thing is that it depends on your bank account, as to what kind of watches you start buying, you see. But I mean, since when I was a child, I loved watches, and I was always very interested about how they make them and where they make them and all this kind of stuff. So this was a beautiful opportunity for me to make a passion out of it, because I created this concept that is unique in the world, that is very well recognized, but there is a lot of effort behind it. And this is something that you guys understand very well. If you're not passionate about something, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I was passionate always about watches. It's just that this was a beautiful opportunity to work with them.
What were you collecting kind of in the early days before kind of?
The Rolex, I remember that my dad had a Patek. But of course, that wasn't me. It was my father. I had a couple of Rolex when I started at Milgauss that actually it got stolen from me with a gun.
Oh
my God.
This was a watch that my wife gave me in the very early days that I was starting. And I always wanted to buy it back, But actually, it hasn't been that easy to get the Milgauss back.
We discontinued it, so.
It's discontinued, yes.
Yeah, but not only, but I mean, to have that kind of experience, it's very easy for someone to be like, I don't want to collect watches anymore.
No, it's impossible. I mean,
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's like so terrible to hear. I mean, we hear that happen every once in a while, and then when it happens to someone it's even worse.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit sad, really, because I mean, you work so hard to get something, and suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
If you lose it, it's a bit different. The pain is you can handle that pain.
Yeah.
But anyway, it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And not just in South America, it's happening
Yeah. I mean, I interviewed Kevin O'Leary, and he said he had his watch. They were stolen from his home, but, it still happens. And you hear it, about it happening here in New York City as well. Wow. More recently, I guess, than, maybe prior to COVID, but it happens here too, and you hear it happening to all big cities. But let's get into kind of the process of making your watches. This is I think going to be really interesting to people, right? We've discussed a little bit. I think it's changed a lot. So you started just without movements in them. They were pure sculptures, right?
Yeah.
And how has that evolved, and what are the kind of difficulties that you've run into kind of creating more and more intricate sculptures?
Well, that's very interesting, because at the beginning, Rick said to me, listen, don't bother about movements because it's not going to be possible. So forget about it. So at the beginning, I started using these quartz movements. It wasn't going to work because the hands,
they're too heavy. Is that right?
They're too heavy. And at some point, it just breaks.
I was going to say, isn't the largest quartz movement is probably going to be like a quarter at the most.
No. I was just being ignorant and optimistic and completely, out of my mind. But, that when you have something in your mind, and this is one of the things that I want people, if I want to leave something out of this whole madness of making sculptures, is don't give up, because at the end, you will find the answers. You will find them no matter what. So I started asking questions, traveling a lot, going to fairs in Basel, in Geneva. I started talking and having conversations with real watchmakers. And then I fell in love with the whole thing. I said, oh my God, this world is the world I want to live in, you see? Of course, I'm far from being a watchmaker right now, but I understand a little bit about how it works. It makes it easier, okay? So I met a guy, an English guy. Unfortunately, that experience was a headache, and I wasn't able to do nothing with him. I just lost money. And also I lost face, because I told a couple of people, I will be able to make you the sculpture with movement. And suddenly It wasn't possible. So they had to wait and wait and wait. And actually, that's something that I appreciate a lot about our collectors, that they believe in what we do. Then I met a Swiss guy, very clever, an unbelievable watchmaker, honest. And he said to me, this is not gonna be easy, my friend, and it's gonna cost you a lot of money, but we're gonna make it happen. So I spent 2 years with the English guy, and then 2 years with this fellow. His name is Florin. And with Florin, we were able to fix the technical issues. And then we gave the whole design to these German guys. And since then, we've been fabricating the movements with Hermle, the German manufacturer. They've been making movements for more than 100 years.
Very cool. I just imagine, what was that first conversation like with the watchmaker? You're like, oh, I really like this watch. So if you wanted to make it like 50 times bigger, how would you do that?
Exactly. So I said, look, I have many collectors that will not accept the piece if it's not working mechanically. And he went, oh my God, this is crazy. You know why? Because the barrel has to be, there is a balance that you have to manage between how big the barrel is, because it will have too much power and it breaks the whole movement.
Yeah.
But also it cannot be too small because it won't move the hands.
Yeah.
And to find that balance, oh my God, that was a headache. But finally, we made it.
So when you do a movement, so you sell both without a working movement and with?
We have the two options.
Two options, and one is
exactly
much more expensive than the other.
Of
the other. What are just to give the viewers and listeners an idea? What are the starting prices for with movement and without movement?
Okay, so basically, a sculpture without movement is the kind of a sculpture that will buy an art collector.
Mm-hmm.
That will start $85,000. Mm-hmm. But you have to remember that even though there is no movement, this is 100% handmade.
Yeah.
So, and then with movements starts at 125,000. The reason for that is because it depends on the complexity of the sculpture. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, we made this Breitling sculpture for one of the most important Breitling collector. Actually, the guy is an Argentinian fellow that used to live in Miami. The strap, remember the Chronomat 20, the normal Chronomat with the stainless steel bracelet.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Is that the 5-link bracelet that like goes like
yes,
in a pair, like a line like
yeah?
this?
I used to have a Chronomat Evolution.
Sizing those bracelets were annoying too because you had to take every link out.
Well, for a watch collector, it's beautiful because you just put it on. But for me, to fabricate the links, it's madness. It's madness. It's hundreds of hours of work.
Wow.
Every sculpture.
So I see, I was on your Instagram page and I saw a lot of AP Royal Oaks. I'm guessing that's a huge part of your business now, like a lot of things people request.
I think that the design, the case of the AP goes well with everything.
That's
you know
so
what
true.
I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the piece that I have chosen to create more functional pieces, because my dream, my goal is to create pieces that you guys, collectors, can interact with.
Yeah.
Not just as a table, but you can put a humidor inside, or you can put a roulette, or you can put whatever you want inside and just interact with the piece. Have something that really you have a connection with.
Yeah.
I've seen some of them that have like tourbillons and stuff inside of that. So is that separate from the movement that you're creating? So the movement's probably one movement that will go like kind of across the spectrum, and then you power separately the other kind of, automations in the...
Good question. Until a few months ago, we were able to just have the movement mechanical. The tourbillon, we couldn't understand how to do it. Mm-hmm. Finally, a couple of months ago, we were able to understand how to make the tourbillons mechanical.
Wow.
And now we're starting to create the movement and the tourbillon or the balance wheel 100% mechanical. Before we had to do it electronically.
Like separate,
battery,
right? Yeah.
With a battery.
Is that something you can share a little bit about the process? Like, I don't know how much detail you're comfortable going into.
No,
but
it's okay.
Just very curious about that process.
Well, basically a tourbillon, as you know, guys, if you don't give energy to the tourbillon, how do you move it?
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
So we create sculptures that are still, they don't move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the balance wheel, the same. You have to move the piece to be able to, you know what I mean? So at the beginning, there was no solution for this. And we said, okay, so we put a motor behind the base of the tourbillon and power it with electricity. And that's as far as we could go. But then, I mean, we all know that watchmakers don't like nothing.
No shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
Yeah.
So we said we need to find a solution. And finally, we've done it. You know, we're gonna start producing our first tourbillons at the beginning of mechanical tourbillons at the beginning of 2025.
So that's interesting because people that talk about tourbillons, you either like love it or you think that it's the most useless complication ever made because, you know, they're originally in pocket watches to counteract the effect of gravity. Yeah. But on your wrist, you're moving it around and you don't need a tourbillon to do that. It seems like you would need a tourbillon since this watch sculpture is sitting in one place.
I mean, it is technically, it's completely useless.
Oh, so even for the
yes. Yeah, but
it looks cool.
Exactly, it looks cool.
It's art.
It looks cool. And if you are in your living room or your office and you turn the tourbillon on, it just changes everything. You know what I mean?
So real quick, so on the sculpture itself, how do you like wind a mainspring? Are you winding the crown or are you pressing a button and it's like electronically
for the movement?
powered? Yeah, for the movement
exactly
itself.
like your watch.
Like a watch itself.
You pull the axis.
Wow.
You pull the axis out, yeah, and just set the time.
So like these sculptures, the crown could be like the size of like a baseball or something. Okay.
I'll send you.
You sent me a video,
yeah.
So you just wind them like this.
Yeah.
And then is there a stopping point? Is it like manual?
Normally between 5 and 7
full revolutions.
Oh, thank God it's not 50.
Yeah, like 40.
No, and then you have maximum 7 days power reserve.
Wow.
No, it's a real movement.
Yeah.
But again, it's Pedro Costa's, Costa Design's own interpretation of the whole thing. We have a very close relationship with Corum, for example, but we make our own movements. They don't provide us the movements.
Yeah. Has anyone tried to...
The Golden Bridge is one of my favorites.
Oh, Corum, the Golden Bridge, yeah.
You saw that, right?
I absolutely love that sculpture because it just looks, so clean, so... It's beautiful.
So the movement in that is in a vertical line.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you have sapphire crystal on multiple sides, like 4 or 5 different panels, maybe even to 12 and 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
We actually sell Corum in my store, so I've seen a handful of examples.
That piece, it was designed by Calabrese.
Oh.
It's an amazing piece, an amazing piece.
Yeah. Not a lot of people talk about Corum, or they don't get as much, attention as they should.
No, I think, look, I always believe that there is a brand for absolutely every single person out there, you know?
So what's the process to like buy your watches or your sculptures? Do you make them and then say like, oh, I want to make an AP and then offer it for sale? Do customers or collectors come to you and work with you? Like how does it work? Like say I want one, how would I go about doing that?
Well, the concept is based on the fact that you have your favorite timepiece and you call Pedro Costa or Costa Design and you say, I want you to make me a sculpture of this piece to have in my living room, in my office, whatever. That's how it works. We don't do stock because, we struggle a lot to make the 15 pieces that we make every year. If I create stock, it's basically, I have to stop.
You have to
20%.
start selling these tables that you have to wait to see if someone is going to want it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So everything is like custom or
100%.
almost made to order in a sense.
100%. And then certain brands, not all of them, say, hey, I like what you're doing a lot. I have a collector, a client, a boutique that I would like you to, speak with and provide one of these sculptures or whatever,
Hey guys, sorry to cut the podcast here, but Ben just joined us, so we're going to now continue the podcast with Ben and do the wrist check. But while I have you here, this is a great time to check and see if you're subscribed to Wrist Enthusiast Radio. Pedro was an amazing guest, so also make sure to follow his work on Instagram. Now back to the episode. So before we get into our conversation with Pedro, we're going to go through and talk about what we have on our wrists today. And I think since Pedro is our guest, he should go first. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing an AP, chronograph.
This is 42?
This is one of my, 42. This is one of my favorite pieces because, like I was saying, I think AP has a beautiful case, and it goes with everything. It just goes with absolutely everything. You can use it as a sports watch. You can use it, if you have something elegant. It just works,
There's a reason why it's like the most popular. I would say most popular watch right now for everybody.
Yeah. Except the internet backlash that says it's overhyped.
Do you have like a special story with this watch? Like, was this the first watch after you did X, Y, and Z, or like, what's the story of you acquiring it?
The situation that, the thing with this reference is that when we started working and thinking about making sculptures that you could interact with, basically putting something useful inside. Instead of the dial, putting something like a humidor or like a roulette or whatever, or even watch winders, we thought, which is the piece that literally will like go in design with everything. And we had a long conversation in the studio and decided to go for this.
That's amazing.
No, it's a beautiful piece.
Do you have other Royal Oaks, or is that the one you have? Or
I have a couple.
Yeah,
I have a couple, but this is the one that I like the most. I have the one with the white dial also.
Yep.
I bought one a few months ago with the green dial.
Nice.
The greens,
and that's it.
All chronographs or not?
Sometimes clients say to me, "I have this watch. Can I make part of the payment with it?" I say, "Okay. If I don't have it, let's do it."
Okay.
Are they all
because I'm
chronographs?
also a watch collector. I just love watches.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'm going to get one of your pieces. I have to give you my whole collection. And then maybe I'll be able to pay for half of your watch. Okay, Derek, you're also wearing a Royal Oak, so...
Yeah, so I decided to wear my AP Royal Oak chronograph. I decided to wear it in honor of Pedro because I've never worn it on this show yet.
This one's much smaller. This is 38?
This is 38, but honestly, it fits amazing because of the integrated bracelet. As you guys know, with integrated bracelets, they tend to wear a little bit larger. This one is a silver dial. So it has that tone-on-tone look, beautiful. Which I love because it's just like all blends together. It's the latest updated logo, so it just says Audemars Piguet. It doesn't say AP, automatic, all this other additional stuff. Yeah. I like how clean and simple it is. For me, I picked this up last year in February. I went like anyone else did, went to the boutique. Luckily, I didn't have to wait too long. They took good care of me.
You need to introduce me to...
Sure, It sounds like you're doing pretty good for yourself, though. You have 3, so...
Maybe you need to introduce him.
Yeah.
No, because, this is a trait that we have with the collectors.
Okay. I was going to ask you a follow-up, which was going to be, what is one watch that you would absolutely say, I will trade you this watch and I'll build you a sculpture in exchange? Like... one for one.
It's so difficult. Honest, when you become a watch collector, you buy every single piece because you're really passionate about it. Yeah. And then to give it away, it's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
But I would, I will probably... The piece that I like every single sculpture is, like a baby, But I really enjoy making artistic representations of the AP and the Pateks, because the elegance of the Patek Philippe is something that you really have to admire, you know? So that's more or less what I would...
The answer is cubitus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ben, what do you got on?
I'm wearing a JLC Reverso, the mid-size, so it's the smaller size.
Is this a new one?
This is the new one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not mine. They lent it to me, so I'm just wearing it for
Okay.
as long as I can.
Nice.
But I love it.
Hope they don't ask
it's
for it
very
back.
simple. It's just plain. Yeah, exactly. Be like, oh, you can have it for 2 years. Thanks for yours. But it's the mid-size, so actually it looks small, but I love that size.
Yeah.
That's
The
actually one
Reversos.
of the first pieces I ever had.
Oh, really?
Reverso?
A Reverso, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's so like it's different. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
I'll pass it around because
I almost
think
wore a
it's so
Reverso today, but then I was like, Ben's probably going to wear one. So there's like a Reverso event coming up. And
Yeah.
that's why, you know, we're rocking Reversos. And I was like, Ben's probably going to wear one. So I'm not going to. This strap is super nice.
Looks good.
And that actually works very, very well for the sculpture because it's really flat. You know?
But
Yep.
you have to do it with the
really
tribute
I was gonna say-
chronograph on, with the movement on the other side.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can imagine something like a Cartier tank or Reverso being a lot easier than like the bracelet of a Royal Oak or something because you're making like a rectangular table.
Well, it depends if you're doing a movement on both sides and like, then it probably gets pretty complicated.
Wow, the size on this is amazing. I also have the Reverso in medium size, so you guys know already I love it. But it has a tribute dial.
This
which
is a
super
tribute,
nice.
right?
I
Yeah.
love the tribute tile.
Yeah. I need to
Super
pick up a
classy.
Reverso at some point. Like for my permanent collection, not just hopefully
I don't have the
hoping
dress.
One
JLC.
piece that you need to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
The strap's really nice too, actually. This is our stock strap.
Yeah, this is really, it's like half Saffiano. Yeah, it's really nice.
Whatever. Yeah. I never know. I'm just like it's cool. I like the strap.
Really nice.
A lot of people change it too.
So I'm wearing the new Oris Diver's Date with the tan dial. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. It's
I
tan.
like this because like first of all they upgraded basically the whole watch, the bracelet's better, and also they added I think 100 meters extra water resistance. It was 100 before, which really doesn't do it for a modern diver. So now it's 200 meters, and it's like 39 millimeters, and it's pretty thin. You don't see many dive watches that kind of fit this well and aren't kind of really big watches. So
It feels kind of light, you know?
yeah, it's
Yeah, it
light.
does.
It's, you know,
Yeah, cool.
it has like still has like that vintage feel to it.
Totally vintage inspired look.
But yeah, it's
The back
smaller.
the back is really nice.
Yeah, so you know it's
For like what is that like
2,700 I think.
$2,700
It's like a
like, that's
good
It's a good deal.
good watch for $2,700. Fits well, and yeah, I think they did a good job with it.
Yeah.
I know that Ben, you've kind of reviewed one before.
Yeah, I had the it comes also with a rubber strap as
Yeah.
well, so I had that. But the bracelet on this is sick with the polished and
Yeah, the polish on the
brushed
side.
different
It's
parts
nice
of
and
it,
like small, you know.
I like the thin bezel. It has like that
Oh, I did.
more
I had-
heritage style.
I
Yeah.
noticed the brush.
yeah, it's brush and polish on the outside, which I think looks so good.
Nice. Really cool.
Yeah, so
I find it really interesting because I'm like observing Pedro as he is observing watches because I know he's looking at it at a different lens than we are.
Yeah,
Not
that's
just as a
nightmare.
collector.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you're looking at it like, could I do this right now?
But it's like, would someone want like $100,000 Oris sculpture?
I was gonna say, does someone ever request like, can you make the moon swatch but into a table? Like, did anyone say something like that?
We've had so many like that. I mean, crazy.
You've done like a Daytona before.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like the swatch. moon
One of my
swatch.
favorite pieces.
System 51.
One of my favorite pieces is actually a Daytona that we created in a vertical style.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That came out really, really, really beautiful. You know, the thing is, one thing is explaining the way things are done at the studio here, and another thing is to be there. And this is why we want next year to create a YouTube channel, because that's the only way to show people what really goes on, you know, because Instagram has this way to put everything like, you know, sometimes people think that they order a piece and it comes out of nowhere, you know. No, this is manual work, and it takes hundreds of hours to do one single piece.
Oh yeah.
How many people are working on
We
like a
have-
piece? How many employees do you have? How many?
30 people, and then we have an administrative team of about 7. You know.
Yeah. I can imagine a YouTube channel being really good for your company because people would want to sit down and have the long form. I mean, your video could be like, I'm going to take this watch and make it into this. And you point at a table.
Exactly.
And then you show the process over how many months or days. I don't know. Probably months for you to.
Months.
Yeah, to
literally.
create.
It's impossible to do it in less time because one sculpture has above 250, 300 small parts, you know. And then we have to weld them together and polish them and etc. In fact, we make our own tools.
Just like a watchmaker.
Where can I go and find tools for my job? It's impossible. Nobody is doing what I'm doing.
Right.
You're the watchmaker's watch sculptor.
That's what it is. Something like that. Yes, exactly. Now, look, I admire what all of those guys are doing in Switzerland. It's just crazy. It's absolutely insane what they come up with. What I do is kind of a magnification, if you can say, and some like honoring in a way the work that they do in creating sculptures in my own, artistic representation and view.
But you're becoming more of a watchmaking outfit in your own right as you develop. You're like kind of now blending watchmaking with sculptures, which I think a lot of people think for some of like the really, really high-end crazy brands that are handmade. So, but one thing that I have noticed is you started to kind of tease some other less expensive things that maybe some of us can eventually afford. For us mere mortals, you've done like a lamp with the skull in it.
Have you seen it?
I was looking at it last night. It's like a table stand. Right?
So are you going to start producing? Do you have like other ideas of other things you want to do? Are you kind of sticking to that, like these kind of 2 products, or what's your kind of plan?
No, we want to come up with different stuff, but the one thing that we don't want to like forget about is creating it and manufacturing with our hands. It doesn't matter if we're gonna do 100. They will be 1,000,000%, manufactured like in an artisanal way,
Yeah, I had a few questions off my mind. One of them was, has anyone ever said to you, like after you give them the price, this is how much I can make it for you for? Has anyone ever been like, I can get someone to do it cheaper or something? Because that happens in custom work all the time.
1,000,000%.
And then you're already like, there's no way they're gonna be able to do it.
I have a beautiful story.
Tell us, please.
This is genuine stuff. There is a guy in Argentina that now is a very good friend of the studio and a very good, an important collector for us. The guy contacted us about 4 years ago. And at that time, I managed my account. Now we have a team of people managing the account. And I spoke with the guy. I didn't even remember when he said that to me. And he asked for a piece, and I said X amount of money. And he thought, this guy is crazy. So he hired a welder and an industrial designer to make the pieces. And he said to me, 2 years later, I had nothing.
Still nothing.
I had absolutely nothing. And then he said, okay, I'm gonna have to call him again. And then he called me. This time we had people managing the account, and they used to say to me, but this guy wants to talk to you. I said, but what is it that he wants? And then suddenly we started talking. And he said to me, the first thing I want to tell you is that I hate you. That's okay. And you want a sculpture from us. He said, no, I want 3. Yes. He said, I tried to copy you. I tried to do everything that you do. It's absolutely, he said, it's crazy. I can't do it. I wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
And the guy, I'm not going to say his name because he won't probably like it.
Yeah.
But
if he's watching, you know who you are.
You're watching,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, after 2 years, he just got a regular table, and he's like, "This looks nothing like what I requested."
Now it has like 4 pieces.
Oh wow!
No.
That's amazing.
Yes.
It would have been less expensive for him just to go with you from the start.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What's that saying? They say buy once, cry once. You know,
Yeah.
like you go to the right
Yes.
person, you get the right
Yes,
work
the
done.
first- exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And then a guy in China made one. And
Of course.
yes. And then suddenly someone sent me the picture and I thought, this is one of my pieces. And I started opening the picture just to analyze everything. I said, no, this is not mine. I mean, it doesn't look 100% right. Looks similar, but it doesn't look 100% right. And we contacted the guy and said, hey, what about this piece? What's going on? And he said, please, can you buy? Because I made it, no one buys.
So now he wants to make it for you. He wants you to sell it for
I sell
him.
it to you for $3,000. I said, no, it doesn't look my.
Well, now you know he's not going to make any more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to worry about like Chinese knockoffs.
Because what we're trying to sell is, I mean, it's much more than just the difficulty of it, which is a lot. Is an artist has created a concept, and there is a lot of effort and passion, and it's handmade. That's it. That's what I can offer, our collectors. Something that 1,000,000% it was made with our hands, and then we make a video of every single piece, and when we manufacture a sculpture for a collector, we say, look, here is the video of how your piece was created from zero. You know
That's
what I mean?
fair.
And I
You
think
have
that's
all-
very cool.
Yeah.
They love it.
You already have like all the blueprints to start the YouTube channel. Like I can
Yeah.
see it. It'll be such a hit. Like,
And then you should
I
invite
would
us
promote
down
it.
there.
Yeah, like obviously.
Well, they should invite us down there to
We'll do a follow up.
see
Yeah.
the factory.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, good.
Is there any watch that a collector has asked you to create that you've just said at this point, no, I can't do? And then has there been any watch, just as a follow-up, that that in the past you said, no, I can't do, but then you went back to them like 2 years later as you developed and were like, now I can do that for you?
I have always said I can do it without knowing that I could.
Just figure it out.
I will find a way.
Yeah.
But the thing, for instance, there was a bad experience because not everything is perfect. There was a bad experience. And actually it was sad because it was with a friend. He asked us to make a Roger Duby, an artistic representation of the double tourbillon Excalibur.
Okay. Oh, the Excalibur double turret. Wow.
Exactly. Man, I was so excited because Roger Duby is one of those brands. I know people, that there are certain brands that people are not very passionate about, but because I'm an artist, I see the art in it. You know what I mean? And I just go crazy for it. Roger Duby is one of them. And I started creating this piece, but unfortunately, that was the time that I was being advised by this English guy, you know, and it just simply didn't work. So that is a piece that at some point I will finish, just because it has to be done.
Yeah.
But that's an example of something not being able to be done.
So outside of private collector homes and boutiques, has your work ever been in museums and stuff like that? Or like, I'm assuming art installations as well.
Boutiques, auctions.
Auctions.
Yeah. A couple of boutiques, because I don't want, the thing is this, I want to keep this as a very exclusive and tight project, because it's impossible to mass produce. Like I was saying before, we came up with this beautiful project that is a lamp, a mechanical lamp, okay? 7 days power reserve. The movement is from the German factory that I mentioned before. But you're gonna start seeing a lot of videos of this being literally like welded, painted, everything. How you say?
Manufactured?
No. The only thing that we do, okay, with a machine is like the main structure, okay, with the CNC machine. Apart from that, because it's impossible to do with the hands. Apart from that, absolutely everything is handmade. We don't want to go too big, because when you go too big, it just kind of loses, the the
Exclusivity or the
Totally.
I just wanna just keep talking.
I know.
I know this is so interesting.
If you have more time, we
You
can
guys,
go a little
you
bit
guys
longer.
are really, really fun. And you know what? The way you do it is fun. It's not like
Boring. Yeah. It's
boring.
not
Yeah,
boring.
no,
No,
not
no.
boring at all.
We'll have to have you come back, or
Yeah.
maybe we'll get
I got,
to.
What
I got,
about- what
oh,
about-
I got
what-
one more. I got another
Okay,
one.
Derek has one more
Okay.
question before we go.
So you know how watch collectors can be like super into the details and sometimes too much? Has anyone ever said to you, Pedro, I want you to design this watch, but I want you to make sure it has a daily accuracy of plus 5 seconds, minus 3 seconds, or something like crazy like that?
That's not gonna happen. No, that's not gonna happen for one simple reason.
Yeah.
These sculptures are that sculptures, okay? They're not wrist like timepieces. No, these are artistic representations of. They will always have more art than real watchmaking. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
It's just that my effort and the effort of the whole team, you know, including my wife now understands a lot about watchmaking, but we have something clear. We want our collectors to say, wow, this is the artistic version of my piece. No, this is the
table.
exact piece. No,
Yeah.
not because it doesn't make sense, you know.
Makes sense.
We need to put something. In fact, every single piece may have something a little bit different to make it special. You know?
So just to follow up on that question, are most of your collectors watch collectors first and art collectors second, or art collectors first and watch collectors second?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Both. I think both. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why we always try to come up with new stuff. You know.
So I guess as we kind of wrap up, why don't you tell us about some cool projects you're working on now, some things that we can look forward to, some things that our audience can look forward to for your future work?
We are doing two things. We're coming up with a sculpture that is a roulette inside an AP artistic representation.
That's very cool.
Okay, that's gonna be awesome. And then we're working on the Godfather, really.
So you are working on the Godfather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I may or may-
I think I don't sleep well like 2 years ago. thanks to that project.
I may or may not have seen some
Exactly.
some embargoed stuff on it, and it's
Exactly. What do you
really
think? Yeah.
it's really cool. And I think that, you know, it's
No,
kind of like
I am confident that is going to be, mind my words, that's going to be, I believe, in the art world, one of the most important pieces ever made. That is absolutely insane what's going to happen.
Amazing.
We'll look forward to it. We'll put links to Pedro's socials where you can kind of learn more information or contact Pedro if you want to commission one of these or get one of the smaller lamps. How much are the lamps?
$9,800.
So if you don't have $125,000 to get a full sculpture with a working movement in it, you can get
You can always
the lamp
get the
for
mechanical
$9,000
lamp.
and then save up to get the bigger piece.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Pedro.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm really, really honored, honestly. Thank you. Really fun.
I have one more
Lots of
closing.
fun.
I have one more closing question.
We can't stop him.
Sorry, last one.
You're gonna take me by car to
where?
to my house.
To your house. To Colombia.
Well, at least you get to see the
I'll ask you more
manufacturer.
questions along the way. No, we just moved. I just moved stores to this new location, and so we just started recording here. We've been asking people, what should we put on the wall? How should we decorate this room? Because we feel like our wall and stuff is looking a little plain for the podcast.
Well, we do need a Pedro sculpture.
That's what I was gonna read too.
That's one of the things. That's the first thing I thought. You missing one of the sculptures here.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, but thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Pedro.
Excellent.
And this episode is sponsored by D-Lugs. So D-Lugs is our official sponsor who does watch trays, leather straps, rubber straps, cut to size, all different kinds. You can still buy a bunch of their stuff online. Today we're using the D-Lugs valet tray to show each other our watches. But on other episodes, you'll see us with the straps. So you can check out their website, www.dlugs.com. Thanks to D-Lugs for sponsoring again.